Hello and welcome to the 27th of February. This is Market View, the final episode this week. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lungelele Makakula. The Center for Financial Inclusion, together with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, in partnership with the Eswatini Economic Policy Analysis and Research Center and the Central Statistical Office, conducted a comprehensive survey to better understand the financial landscape and access to financial services for micro, small and medium enterprises in the country. The survey, known as the FinScope survey, is a global initiative developed by Finmark Trust in South Africa and is conducted in over 30 countries worldwide. This comprehensive survey aims to map the growth of SMEs and shed light on the financial landscape and access to our financial services for our vibrant community. The report of the survey has been launched this morning. It highlights some major achievements and challenges in the business landscape for small and medium enterprises. Only 9% of the over 68,000 enterprises trade with larger businesses, and which is a decline in women-owned businesses has been observed, although they currently sit at 60%. Major achievements include the formalization of small businesses being at 43%, up from 25% in 2017. Business journalist Nelsie Wendlangamandla had a detailed interview with the director of the department, Mluleki Dlamini, on what will be done to improve the trading landscape for local SMEs. Stay tuned for this interview. On our last segment today, we'll be joined by in-house economist Sanele Sibia for today's market analysis. For now, let's go straight to our first story. There's been an increase in formal businesses to 43% compared to about 25% in the year 2017. 57% are still not formal. Small and medium enterprises in the country have a turnover of 1.2 billion amalangeni, employing over 91,000 people. This is according to the 2023 blended FinScope Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survey launched at the Hilton Garden Inn in Babani. Looking at the contribution made by the micro, small and medium enterprises in the economy, the Minister for Finance, Honorable Neil Rackenberg, has called upon collaboration among all stakeholders to advocate for policy changes and invest in initiatives that prioritize micro, small and medium enterprises. Financial inclusion as a decline has been noticed in small-scale businesses that are financially included.
Even though the study reveals lots of positives, the research also reveals a stark reality which I believe we need to address urgently. Similar to the findings of the first study we conducted to assess the financial inclusion status of our MSMEs in 2017, over 75% of our MSMEs are still in an informal state. Secondly, there was a significant decline in the number of MSMEs that are using banking services. As a ministry, we wish to challenge all concerned to address these two findings specifically that I've highlighted. We are convinced that if this can be addressed, that the sector will contribute more significantly to our economy. Lastly, we have seen a decline in the total number of MSMEs that are financially included. This drop is another cause for concern for the ministry. This is a challenge for all of us, and we need to devise strategies that we can do to correct the status quo. I once again reaffirm the government's unwavering commitment to enhancing financial inclusion for the MSME sector. This commitment is not merely a narrative, but it's backed by actionable measures as presented in the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2023 to 2028. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I want to urge all who provided different services to MSMEs to take advantage of the renewed MSME database that represents the experiences, wishes, and desires of our MSMEs. Take advantage of the data set to fashion affordable and appropriate products that will suit the needs of our MSMEs. As we move forward from today, let us commit ourselves to taking the appropriate action based on the insights gained from the study. Let us foster collaboration among stakeholders, advocate for policy changes, and invest in initiatives that prioritize MSMEs' financial inclusion. Together, we can create a landscape where every entrepreneur, regardless of the size of their business, has the opportunity to access the financial services that they need to succeed.
The United Nations Development Programme has called upon the removal of structural barriers that impede on the growth of micro, small, medium enterprises in terms of finance. Speaking during the launch of the blended FinScope Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survey, the residents' representative Henrik Franklin added that all stakeholders must act as one to avoid duplication of tasks and ensure that all efforts are coordinated and efficient. The study has also revealed that only 2% of the over 60,000 MSMEs export their products mainly to South Africa.
The blended FinScope MSME survey not only focuses on financial inclusion, but also looks at the structure of informality in the Eswatini and its drivers. This dual focus necessitated a change in the approach, which initially focused at the household level, but also now included the enterprise level. And we want to express our profound appreciation to the Center of Financial Inclusion and the Central Statistics Office, the FinMark Trust and others for their flexibility in adapting the methodology despite the sampling challenges. Such innovative partnerships transcend the usual and hold the key for groundbreaking solutions accelerating progress. MSMEs are close to our hearts. UNDP's Strategic Plan 2002 to 2025 emphasizes that private sector is a critical role, particularly in the MSME sector, as a driving force for economic growth and employment creation. By leveraging the potential of MSMEs, UNDP aims to support the government of Eswatini in stimulating inclusive job creation, particularly for youth, women, and persons with disabilities, enhancing productivity and contributing to sustainable development in both rural and urban areas. This approach aligns with the broader goals of poverty reduction, inclusive economic growth, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals through private sector engagement. Earlier this month, I was privileged to join the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade here in this room, Honorable Mankoba Khumalo, to launch the new MSME policy, demonstrating UNDP's dedication to policy intervention with a strong emphasis on programmatic actions that benefit MSMEs. In addition, UNDP continues to collaborate with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade to implement the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act of 2023 fully, further demonstrating our commitment to supporting the government to create an enabling environment for the MSME sector. So I'm also happy to report that the Ingelo local certification scheme, supported by UNDP and launched by the Honourable Minister Khumalo last November, will soon be fully implemented. This scheme aims to promote high-quality production capacity amongst local MSMEs, so they initially can access domestic markets while paving the way for ultimately accessing and being competitive in the African Continental Free Trade Area and global markets.
And that's it for our business news. After the break, Nelsiva sits down with Mluleki Dlamini from the Ministry of Commerce. Stay with us.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. This is Market View, the last episode this week. Thank you for staying with us. We continue with the program. The blended FinScope Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survey 2023 highlights some major achievements and challenges in the business landscape for small and medium enterprises. Only 9% of the over 68,000 enterprises trade with a larger business. A decline in women-owned business has been observed, although they currently sit at 60%. Major achievements include the formalization of small businesses being at 43%, up from 25% in 2017. The study directly speaks to the Department of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises at the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. Business journalist Nilsiwe Ndlamanla had a detailed interview with the director of the department, Mluleki Dlamini, on what will be done to improve the trading landscape for local MSMEs.
Director, it's a pleasure having you on the show. The blended FinScope survey, I believe, mainly speaks to issues of micro, small and medium enterprises, and that is your department. What is your take home from this report?
Definitely, we're excited about the launch of the blended FinScope survey, the findings today, which basically speaks to our 7 pillars in the MSME national policy, basically the pillar which speaks to finance. So here, the results show that issues of formalization of businesses, there is a significant improvement from 2017, where basically we were at about 25%. And we're excited today that the results show that we are at 48% in terms of formalization of businesses. So that shows that over the years we've been improving in terms of registration of businesses and providing an enabling environment for businesses. So for us, I think we're quite excited, but we still see that in some areas we need to improve, such as youth participation in entrepreneurship and also women-owned businesses as well. So we are really excited, and we are going to put in place quite a number of activities which will basically be collaborating in with various development partners, including the Center of Financial Inclusion, in terms of how do we improve the landscape of entrepreneurship in the country so that we better achieve our objective in terms of economic growth and participation of MSMEs in economic growth.
What can you say about youth participation in entrepreneurship, Director? Because we know that youth unemployment in the country is very high, and yet when I read the report, it states that more than half of MSME owners are adults, and we expected that maybe it will be young people.
Yes, in that respect, we're seeing that about 35% of youth entrepreneurship are also part of the statistics. So in that respect, we'll want to try and increase that figure so that we see more youth participation in entrepreneurship, and also to make sure that most of them are funded, their businesses are funded through financial institutions, as opposed to most businesses operating through funding from savings or from other sources. But I think that is a challenge that we'll have to address in this instance.
The report states that 60% of MSME owners are women, but it also says there has been a decline compared to the year 2017 when such a study was done. Is there anything that you are going to do as a department to assist women?
Yes, this has been due to the economic shock that has been happening over the years. One of it was COVID, and also most recently has been the unrest that affected a lot of businesses. So gradually we are seeing more businesses coming back into operation, and we are hoping that we will assist them to continue to grow in the businesses. But what we have realized is that most businesses do not reach the maturity stage, which is 10 years and above. Most of them are still struggling in the establishment phase. So we really need to assist them so that they reach the maturity stage.
Only 2% of micro, small and medium enterprises are exporting to South Africa, Director, out of over 60,000 of such businesses. Is there anything that you are doing to assist them to increase the exports? Are you working with different entities like the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority?
Yes, indeed. We've started the Buy Eswatini campaign that we're working with IPA, in fact, and we know that once our businesses are in that platform, we should be able to to make sure that their products are known globally and they can be traded. So that is one way in which we are putting efforts in place that will ensure that our products are not only exported to the Republic of South Africa, but also to other global markets. So basically, it is an initiative that we are working on. We are working on export readiness for local businesses, standards through Ingelo certification and other programs that will ensure that our products are of international standard and then they can be traded in the international market. And we are also working on issues of capacity in terms of volumes that can be produced by our local manufacturers. We understand that we've got a limited product range that can get into the export market, but in that respect, we want to develop various products which can go into the export market.
I like the fact that, Director, you are emphasizing that your department will do all it can to help these businesses. I also saw in the report that only 1% of these businesses trade with government, especially on tenders. So will you be increasing this number, especially now because government has introduced the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act, where you seek to help more small and medium enterprises, especially on such issues?
Yes, we're also excited in that front because we're developing the regulations as we speak now. That will speak to issues of procurement as one part of the Citizen Economic Empowerment Regulations. And also, given that also the Minister of Finance is reviewing the regulations of procurement. So we have also submitted our inputs on that process, and we will be seeing a change in that respect. That 1% definitely will change in future because more local businesses will now be participating in the local procurement program.
The Blended FinScope Survey Director gives us the state of the small and medium enterprises in the country. What will you be doing going forward to help them grow and be able to export more?
And the report that is being launched today will also be used as we continue to implement our policies as well, because this project and all this information that is contained in that document is the one that influences or guide implementation of the strategic pillars and the activities that we seek to achieve as a ministry and as a department as we implement the national policy and all other government policies that are aimed at development and promotion of our micro, small and medium enterprises in this respect.
We can't wait, Director, to see all that you've said here materialize and come to fruition so that we may see small and medium enterprises growing in the country and be able to contribute the over 50% in the country's GDP, as it has been said that they are the backbone of the growing economy.
And that is Director SMEs Mluleki Dlamini speaking on efforts made by the ministry to better the landscape for SMEs in the country. Let's go for an ad break. We come back with Sanalys Bia for today's market analysis.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. This is the last segment, and we take a look at today's market analysis with in-house economist Sanele Sibiya. Mr. Sibiya, very good afternoon. Welcome. What is the latest market data today, this afternoon?
Hi, Lungalele, thank you, and good afternoon to the viewer. So what we are seeing basically is just mixed movements across the globe. Starting in the US, what we're seeing there is, markets are trading very close to those all-time highs, but there is a bit of uncertainty that markets are trying to weigh in on and see how that is going to affect the market. So what we are seeing in the US is, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has actually lost some 200 points to sit on that 43,400 mark, and the Nasdaq Composite Index gained just a few points, while the S&P 500 also lost 0.81 points. So the story behind this is there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and there's still no clearer direction in terms of where monetary policy is going to go and what the fiscal impact of those Trump policies are actually going to be on. So markets are just trying to look through that and see how things are going to go on that front, while we're still trying to get an understanding of what Trump policies would really mean for the U.S. market and the global economy. But what we're seeing with the Nasdaq Composite Index is the fact that it did edge up a few points, like 48 points, towards that 19,075 in all trade volumes. That's purely because what we saw coming out of the U.S. was the fact that NVIDIA, one of the tech stocks that we look at to see whether they are going to, whether that artificial intelligence boom is actually going to really start paying off anytime soon. But what we're seeing with those results coming in after market trade is the fact that NVIDIA really did post some earnings, but those earnings were actually about what market expected. But the issue with the artificial intelligence stocks is the fact that markets expect them to perform exceptionally well, and markets expect them to really start paying off. So, just to offset the heavy expenditure and the heavy investment expenditure that has been happening across that sector. So that's why we're seeing that mixed signal there. And also, we saw yesterday when President Trump said he was going to impose some 25% tariffs on all cars coming into the United States from the European Union. And that in itself, we saw Europe coming out to state that they're going to retaliate by the same amount. That's why we are seeing those losses in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500. Coming into Europe and London, London edged up a bit in today's trade purely because we saw some companies in the UK posting some positive earnings, including Rolls-Royce as one of those market leaders. We know that the UK is no longer part of the European Union, so that talk of those tariffs on those European-made vehicles and those other commodities that will likely attract those tariffs if President Trump goes on to implement those. So now that's not really coming up very much into the UK market because we haven't had any direct talks about the UK is going to be affected by Trump's tariff rate. But when you come into Germany and into France, those tariff talks really did spook the European markets, and over and above, there is the issue of those peace talks, and markets are just trying to see what those peace talks mean for Europe and how Europe is going to navigate this landscape. But we do know we saw President Macron in America just a couple of days ago, and we know that the Kiev Summer is actually also going there. Today, it's going to be having those talks with President Trump just to see how Europe can structure that deal. And also as well, we do know that President Zelensky will also be in Washington in the next, probably tomorrow, in the coming days. It's that issue of this talk. And then if we move across into Asia, again, we are seeing some mixed reaction in today's trade coming out of Asia, with the Shanghai Composite Index on that positive growth on that 3,088 mark. That's purely because, again, we're seeing Trump right now focusing on Europe and not really focusing much on China. And also, with that deep technology and the artificial intelligence landscape performing relatively well, what we are seeing again is those that upward movements in the mainland in Beijing. And then when you come into the autonomous territory of Hong Kong, we've seen some marginal losses purely because, the tech stocks have been the ones that have been leading the trade in Hong Kong. But right now, with the performance of NVIDIA, and yes, NVIDIA did outperform expectations based on market valuations and all of those financial ratios. But in terms of what the markets want, the markets are now looking at making profits out of the artificial intelligence in Hong Kong, and with the Nikkei trading relatively on that upward note because, again, Trump is still focusing on those European automakers, which now gives those Japanese automakers a bit of a competitive edge if those tariffs are going to come into play. And then coming into South Africa, we're seeing markets losing a bit in terms of, just moving from that 88,500 mark in the past couple of days, just posting some losing streak for the past 2 days, now sitting at 87,123 in terms of all trade volume. That's really because in the early days, trades were being driven up by that Johannesburg Stock Exchange talk that was happening in Cape Town, but still the geopolitical uncertainty